Hey everybody, it's Delicia and welcome to my kitchen. Yes, you're in the right place. You're on CIGARVIXEN channel, but today I'm inviting you to be part of a new segment that I'm doing, kind of fun, changing it up a little bit. It's basically going to introduce three of my favorite things: cooking, smoking cigars, and drinking. We all seem to like those things, so why not, put them together and enjoy it. So what I thought I'd do is introduce a taste of different regions, basically. Starting off, of course, with my own native roots, Mexico. I had a really tough time deciding what to make because, as you guys probably know, Mexico has some phenomenal foods, a lot of different dishes, and it was really tough to just pick one. And so my thought process with it, of course, was kind of working it backwards. You'll see a little bit later what I decided to pair it with, but with that in mind, I decided to kind of do something very simple, something that pretty much anybody, whether you have a background in cooking or you never cook or anything at all, you could make this. So it's very simple. It's something that you could make a main dish, or you could do it as like an appetizer if you're having people over, which is often what I do. This is like one of my favorite things to eat and to make, and it's, again, super easy. So what I'm going to be making today are some Chipotle Meatballs. And again, super easy, tastes great, and let's get started. So what we're doing is actually starting with about 2 pounds of ground beef. Now, this part you could change. I happen to prefer 100% beef. You could do half and half. You could do half beef, half ground pork. You could, if you're on the little bit healthier side, you could do all ground turkey. You could mix it however you want, but for today and for my own kitchen, I'm doing 100% beef. And so again, just kind of starting with that. It's already ground, ready to go. And again, super simple. We're just gonna add 3 eggs to it. It's always fun. You guys didn't see this part because I hadn't started yet, but my hands are clean. That's always rule number 1 if you're in the kitchen, especially if you're preparing food for anybody else other than yourself. Your hands should definitely be clean. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves. So 3 eggs, and I'm also gonna add breadcrumbs. Now, I'm probably like the worst person to show you how to cook because I don't measure anything. I just kind of go off of eyeball and textures. So this is the size of what I'm working with. And this is about how much breadcrumbs that we're gonna add to it. And you're just gonna kind of sprinkle those in there. You can kind of see just typical start to some meatballs. I'm gonna also add some minced garlic. Now you could use fresh garlic, whatever you like. I'm choosing to be lazy and I just buy the minced garlic. So I'm gonna add about 2 heaping teaspoons of garlic. I love garlic. I tend to put a lot in my food. It's good for you, tastes great, adds a lot of good flavors. And I'm just gonna add about maybe 2 pinches of sea salt and probably about 3 pinches of ground cumin. Cumin is the key for this dish. It really adds a lot of good flavor. And then to top it off, I'm just going to do a little bit of ground black pepper. And I don't know about you guys, but when I cook, I always have music on, which unfortunately YouTube is like not friendly with me playing my music. They always seem to block my videos when I do that. So for the sake of recording, I don't have music on, but if I did have music, I would be playing right now with the theme. I'd probably go for like some Ramon Ayala, let it play, really adds to the ambiance. And of course, I'm drinking a little pre-cocktail. This is not part of the pairing per se, but you could always do this. It's a real simple, kind of a skinny margarita. This is my own little version. I don't like to use like the different syrups and whatnot. This is just fresh lime, a little bit of agave, and tequila, a silver tequila. This is the Milagro. It's a really good tequila. It doesn't interfere with any flavors. It's just pretty much to the point, and which is what I'm looking for right now. And I also added a couple slices of roasted jalapeno. Now you could do fresh jalapeno, you could skip the jalapeno altogether, but I like a little bit of a bite to it. And with the roasting of the jalapeno, it kind of makes a little bit of a smokiness to it. So I was cooking the tomatoes anyway, so I just threw the jalapeno right on there and just figured, hey, why not? So that's what I like to do when I cook. Hopefully you guys can appreciate that. If you cook, you're probably somebody who either has a glass of wine or some sort of libation with you. That's what I do in my kitchen. So anyways, let's go ahead and mix this up. So your hands are gonna get messy. Make sure you don't have any phone calls to answer or anything else you know, pending that you have to do. This requires your attention. But like I said, super easy. This is just something that I always make it, like whether it's, again, as a main dish, you could serve this with rice and beans, you know, some warm corn tortillas. You could make it, again, dinner. You could do it as a breakfast. You could serve the meatballs with, you know, eggs. Again, corn tortillas are always pretty safe for any occasion. Or I've done this often, like if you get invited to somebody's house or if you're just having people over for a cocktail, you could just make this a little appetizer and serve it on its own. So again, super easy, just mixing it up. You want to make sure everything is nice and even. I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to do more than one taste of Mexico because, again, I had a really tough time deciding on what dish to make because there's just, I mean, Mexico has so many different regions, so many different flavors and foods and sauces, and it's delicious, making my mouth water actually. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family with a lot of people, so I kind of learned how to cook from mostly like my aunts, I guess you could say, my grandma. Every occasion involved a lot of food and usually tequila, cigars. So something I'm very comfortable with and something that I really, really love. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And of course, I'm going to be mixing in some different regions and it should be a lot of fun. So once this is pretty much, you know, meshed well together, you're gonna go ahead and just kind of set it off to the side for a minute, and we're gonna work on the actual sauce that it's gonna cook in. So for the sauce, as I mentioned, the chipotle is really what gives it its flavor. Anybody can make meatballs and you can put it in different types of sauces and you're gonna, you know, make an enjoyable plate. But the chipotle, to me, is something that I absolutely love. I put chipotle in everything. I'm kind of a weirdo about it. I put it in my mayonnaise, on sandwiches. I put it in guacamole. You can make margaritas with it. It's like always appropriate, in my opinion. It has this wonderful, smoky, kind of sweet, still has a nice amount of spice. Just a really flavorful chile. It's one of my favorites. So what we're gonna do is I've been roasting while we were talking, roasting tomatoes. I took about 6 medium-sized tomatoes and put them on a comal. Just if you don't have a comal, you could use just a skillet, something that you can put on your stovetop and just basically roast the tomatoes. Worst case scenario, you could get a cookie sheet and you could put them in your oven and just let them kind of, you know, broil basically. What you're going for is a really dark, almost burnt tomato. You want them practically falling apart. So like the darker, more burnt, the better. It's gonna really complement that smokiness of the chipotle, like the more burnt the tomato is. So I always try and really char them. This time I kind of went somewhere in the middle, and because again, you're just making a salsa kind of with it, so it doesn't need to be firm. They could be as soft as it doesn't really matter. So basically, you're just going to add the tomatoes into either a food processor or a blender. I'm using my trusty Vitamix. I pretty much do everything in it. So you're just gonna throw all 6 tomatoes in there. These are still pretty warm. I just took them off of the comal. And you wanna make sure you get any of the little bit of sauce that comes in there. Now, the chipotle is gonna be subjective to your spice intensity level, because if you put a lot, you're gonna definitely come out with something very spicy. So again, it just depends on your palate, on your guest's palate. If you want something really spicy, if you just want a little bit of it. I'm gonna go kind of in the middle and just play it safe. But basically, if you've never seen a chipotle chile, they're not super big. It's basically a cooked chile. It's in its own sauce when you buy it. It's in like an adobo sauce. It's really, again, it's just like this, it's a sweet, spicy, smoky type of a chile. It's absolutely wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and put, let's see, 2, oh, that doesn't count. It's like a little baby one. 3, I'm gonna put 4, and I'm gonna put a little bit of it, of the sauce, you know, into the mix too. And then the rest of them, you could just put them in like a little Tupperware, put them back in your refrigerator, totally fine. And then you're gonna add more garlic. As I mentioned, I'm a garlic freak, so I use a lot. So you're just gonna add some garlic in there. And I did mention previously that cumin is your secret spice here. So you're gonna put, I don't know, maybe another 2 pinches of cumin, ground cumin. Or if you have cumin seeds, you could throw a couple seeds in there too. Maybe 2, 2.5. You really can't overdo it with the cumin, in my opinion. It's such a nice complement. And then you're gonna do some oregano. And I have the habit of just kind of rolling it in my palms, even though I'm gonna blend it. It's just like a weird habit that I have. So you're gonna probably do 2 large pinches of oregano. And then you're gonna add some chicken broth. You're gonna add, let's see. You're kind of gonna go off of look, but approximately about 1 cup or so, give or take a little bit. You're gonna again look at, you know, how big of the tomatoes you're using. You're gonna look at the consistency after you blend it. Okay, and then we're just gonna mix this up. And as I mentioned before, I like to smell everything. That's kind of how I can gauge if it's spicy enough, if it, I don't know, it's a weird thing. So to me, this could use probably 1 more chile. It's not making my eyes water when I smell it. So I'm just adding a little bit more sauce and 1 more chile. I'm gonna reblend it. Much better. So this is ready to go. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna form the meatballs and we're gonna put them all together and we're gonna just let them basically cook and then we're gonna eat them. So now we're over at the stove. We're ready to put the meatballs into the sauce and we have the larger skillet or pan, whatever you have. You're going to put it on about a medium to medium high heat. You're going to add a little bit of oil. And you're going to add more garlic. I warned you about that. I cook with a lot of garlic. I feel like every dish that I make, I pretty much put oil and garlic to saute whatever it is that I'm adding. It just adds a nice amount of flavor. And you're just going to coat the pan with it. And then you're going to add your chipotle sauce. And you're just gonna let that sit for a second while you start to actually mold your meatballs. And you want this to be, you don't need it to be boiling, but you want it to be warm by the time you start to add your meatballs. So I'm just gonna turn it up slightly. Has a wonderful sweet spiciness already going on. I can't wait to eat. I'm getting very hungry now. It's the problem with cooking, is you start getting hungry. So you can see it's already bubbling. So you're basically just going to make your meatballs with the combination of the egg and the breadcrumbs. They're going to hold together perfectly. I mean, they fit in my palm. You can make them as big or small as you want. I would recommend keeping them around this size just so that they cook evenly in the sauce. And you're just going to drop them in. Down to the last meatball. See, I told you guys it was easy to make. We've got about, I don't know, 30, somewhere between 30 and 35 meatballs in here. I lost count. And basically, that's all you have to do. You put them in the sauce. You're gonna let them cook for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. You're gonna keep them right around medium on the heat, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover this and I'm just going to let them hang out in there. You don't have to turn them, you don't have to do anything. They'll just cook all alone in their sauce. And in fact, you don't want to actually stir it or do anything like that because you don't want to disrupt the meatballs. You just want to let them soak in and cook as much and seep up as much of that chipotle sauce as possible, and you're really going to get a lot of flavor. Meanwhile, I've already made my rice, so I have you know, some Spanish rice to accompany my meatballs, and super excited to eat in a little bit. So now I'm ready to dig in. The meal has finished cooking, and as you can see, I'm choosing to eat it as a meal instead of just an appetizer, but you could very easily just serve the meatballs alone with the sauce. You can tell that there is a lot of sauce that you can actually put more on. There's more in the pan, but I'm just serving it this way to eat it with some rice. And I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna get to it. I'm glad I added that extra chipotle. It has a nice amount of spice to it. Ooh, especially on the finish, you can just kind of hangs out in there, and it's good. I like things spicy. A lot of flavor. Again, that chipotle adds a lot of smokiness. Just a lot of different things, especially when you integrate the Spanish rice. You get, the tomato, the garlic, all kind of just meshes together very well. But I love that chipotle. Nice smokiness, spicy, a little bit sweet, very delicious. So I have a nice full tummy, and I'm getting ready to introduce this Don Julio. This is the Añejo Tequila. When I was cooking, I was drinking Milagro. I was doing a little version of a kind of skinny margarita. Again, that was just pre-eating, doesn't really go with the whole pairing. But now that I've had the completed meal, I have the chipotle, the spiciness from it is still, coating the palate pretty much, which is, again, another reason why it's really important when you are, doing a pairing or smoking a cigar especially, that you're aware of what you're eating, because it really does leave an impression on your overall palate. So again, I have the remnants or the flavors that are still, hanging out in the palate. And as I mentioned, this is a fabulous tequila. This is the Don Julio Añejo. This little baby, basically, again, with the tequila, if you're somebody that I'd say maybe 80% of my friends that I tell them, hey, let's have, a cigar and some tequila, they always freak out and they say, no, I'm not a tequila drinker. I had a bad experience or whatnot. And let me tell you, if that's the case for you or any of your friends, perhaps that you're gonna, invite to do this pairing, have them try it again, because we're not doing tequila shots. We're not doing a low-end tequila. We're doing a nice, high quality. We're sipping it. There's a big difference. And so what I've done is I've poured a little bit into my glass. I'm somebody who likes to drink the añejos neat. I don't particularly care for on the rocks. That's definitely a personal preference. You could, at the very least, you could add one ice cube and it would open up the bouquet a little bit, similar to a scotch or anything else that has that nice aging to it. With the añejo tequila, it comes from an agave plant that's been grown in the Jalisco region, and I'm a little partial to that. Again, my family coming from Mexico, it actually neighbors Jalisco, the little state that my family's from, which is Aguascaliente. It's nestled up right in the middle, just on the border there of Jalisco. So, I'm a little partial to it, but also the taste is phenomenal. Now, again, the difference with the añejo on the tequila side is that it needs to be aged or matured for a minimum of 1 year. And so in this case, this particular one has been aged for 18 months in American white oak barrels. So old bourbon barrels basically is what it's been, hanging out and aging in. So it's giving it a really wonderful variety of flavors. So just to give it the nose. On the nose, you pick up a little bit of that agave, almost like a honey type of a sweetness. You get a nice little smoky element. You can pick up a hint of pepper, and as well as the cigar itself. This is the Sam Lucia Luchador. While it's a little cliche that I picked the Luchador, I just felt like it was a good fit because, again, it has that Mexican San Andres wrapper, which gives a tremendous flavor. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's one of my absolute favorites as far as a Maduro wrapper is concerned. I love the different components. It has, those notes of cocoa. It's still earthy. There's a nice spice element to it. And I thought it would be a great fit with this overall, combination with the food, the tequila, and again, the cigar. It's laying over an Ecuadorian Habano binder, and then it has a mixture of fillers. So it has some Pennsylvania Ligero. It has Honduras Ligero, and then it has a couple different regions of Nicaraguan tobacco. So it has some Omnetepe in here, which gives it a little bit of a sweetness. So again, a good combination of flavors. Let's go ahead and talk about them, once they're all together. So I'm gonna get into it. Wow. If you were sipping tequila for the very first time, this would be the way to experience it, because there's absolutely no bite to it. As far as that, you know, that stereotypical, all that tequila is going to leave a bite, it's going to burn. This one is so smooth. It goes down. It really is, has a nice viscosity to it. It coats the palate all the way down. It has just a nice amount of, again, the agave you definitely get. You get a hint of a citrus, kind of like a lime, the rind of a lime. You get a little bit of that. You pick up that oakiness, and you definitely get a nice smoky element to it. So I really enjoy it. It goes, again, exceptionally well with the Chipotle chile. This cigar here, which is giving you, again, some of those similar characteristics. You get a nice little white pepper, definitely an earthiness to it. There's a hint of the sweetness, but really with the combination of flavors, you're definitely getting more of a spice versus that sweetness that you would get, like, for example, if you smoke this on its own, you'd pick up a little bit more of the cocoa notes. When you do it in this pairing, you pick up a little bit more of the spicy tones to it. But it's really, really a great combination. And again, this cigar, it matches the tone of, you know, the whole pairing, I guess you could say, because it has enough strength that stands up. It's not going to be overpowering it's not going to be overshadowed by, you know, the meal that we just had, which was a nice, you know, pretty full meal with the beef and then the different chipotle flavors. It was a lot of full flavors, and this one can stand right up to that, as well as the tequila. So nothing is overpowering the other. They're all working very well together. So that's kind of the type of pairing that I look for. There's some people that like opposites, and there's others that like for it to kind of all flow together, and I fall into that latter category. So I really enjoy how these all just kind of mesh well together. They bring out nice components in each other, and really it's personal preference, but it's the way to do it. So hopefully you've enjoyed, you know, this different type of pairing, and, you know, a taste of Mexico. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about it, and I hope you stay tuned for the next one. I'll give you a little sneak peek of that. Most likely it's going to be a taste of Brazil, so stay tuned for that one.